Hello there everybody, Sabananichi and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry. If I sound like I'm trying to sound a little quiet, I deeply apologize. I just don't want to disturb the people around me. That doesn't really matter, really. Anyway, I said I was going to do another episode of this, and I'm going to do that. Cthulhu will be up. I think another episode of Lord Cthulhu will be up later. So, let's jump right in and continue where we left off. This was the first time I'd ever woke with such clarity. It was 5:59, just moments before my alarm would go off. I was amazed at the precision of my internal clock. I have one of those. Kind of easy. I mean, why did I say that? I don't know. I'd say the internal clocks are actually pretty good, although they can be a little annoying at times. Waking up like 15, 20 minutes right before your alarm's supposed to go off. You know what I mean. I had made preparations for the next day of school before I went to bed. I changed quickly and descended to the deserted lower floor. It appeared that my mom was still asleep. Neither breakfast nor lunch was ready. Yesterday, I just unliterally declared that I would be leaving early today, so it couldn't be helped. I slathered jam on some bread and topped it with instant cocoa. Just as I was finishing up breakfast, Mom rose groggily from her slumber. Wait, jam and cocoa? Oh, instant cocoa. Sorry, for some reason I thought he was talking about putting like cocoa on the jam. I'm like, what kind of combination is that? No, he literally just had morning cocoa. Okay. My Keiichi, you're up early. Is there some sort of school event? Not really. Answering bluntly, I picked up my bag and stood after stuffing 2 slices of bread down my throat. You're leaving already? What about lunch? If you don't wait a bit, I can't make it. If I waited for her to make my lunch, then it would end up being the same time as usual. If I did that, it would raise the chances of me running into Reina and Mion on the way. Yes, from today onwards, I was going to go to school alone. I'll be fine for today. Then what will you do for lunch? I'll slip out and buy some bread or something at the store. Really? Then here's some lunch money. Be sure to bring me back the receipt. I took the 1,000-yen bill from Mom and slipped it into my pocket. It's pretty early. Is Reina-chan up this early as well? No, just me. Did you tell Reina-chan that you're leaving early? I have no reason to tell her every little detail, now do I? Finding it difficult answering the onslaught of questions, I made an annoyed face. Tell Reina that I went ahead when she comes. Hey, Keiichi, wait! It's not that I didn't trust my parents. I just couldn't rely on them. They couldn't help me. I can only hope that they didn't get involved. It was safer that way. Well, I don't blame you for trying to, protect your parents, but you could try to be a little nicer, dude. My mom's annoying voice was cut off by the slam of the door. Oh, come on, man. For the first time since I moved here, I headed down the road to school alone. Uh-oh. Music stopped. That always gets me like the thought that something bad's about to happen. Every time. Up until now, I had always walked down the same path at the same time each day, so I always met with the same people at the same places. But today was different. I didn't meet the people I would normally, and nobody was at the places where I would have normally met them. Of course, Reina wasn't in the spot where we usually met, and there wasn't anyone at the spot where we would have met up with Reina. Or Mion, why the fuck did I read that as Reina? The length of the tree's shadows, the morning air, and the brightness of the sun. It was a completely different type of morning from what I was used to. Without a doubt, it felt strange. It left me with the impression that I destroyed the illusion Hinamizawa had set up for me before it had enough time to prepare all the props needed to deceive me. My, Keiichi-kun, you're so early today. Is everyone meeting early this morning? The person who called out to me was someone we always passed by as they were taking a walk along the edge of the fields. Their name was, I forgot. Of course, this wasn't the spot where we usually passed each other. I woke up early today, so I thought it would be a good change of pace, that's all. I threw out a random excuse. What about Reina-chan and Mion-chan? Are you by yourself today? Well, yeah. I was being asked the same type of questions my mom was asking, so I answered them in the same uninteresting, vague manner. It wasn't funny being asked where Raina was each time I passed by someone. I hope the microphone didn't pick up me snapping my neck there for a moment. But maybe it was to be expected. It was because for so long we were always together so amicably. Even I felt that if I let my guard down, we could still be friends. Stop it, KG. Don't think about that anymore. You spent all day yesterday thinking about how dangerous it was to go soft, didn't you? Yeah. Beep, beep, beep. A car horn blared from out of nowhere. Even though I was walking, lost in thought, that horn was way too close. A mechanical behemoth barreled at me from behind, catching me completely off guard. By the time I turned around, the van's hulking chassis was almost on top of me. I'd seen plenty of cars veer to the opposite shoulder to avoid pedestrians, but this car was doing the opposite. It felt like there was somebody on the opposite shoulder and the van was swerving in my direction to avoid them. That blissfully ignorant train of thought delayed me from realizing something much, much more important. That large mass was hurtling right at me. Was it going to hit me? The inside of my head instantly flooded with a painful, cold liquid. In that moment, the scene before me, no, time itself had frozen. In the silence of that frozen moment, I compared the van, so close that I had no way to dodge it, and my body, the upper half twisted awkwardly in order to look behind me. There was no way I could dive out of the way in my current position. If I lost focus now, this moment would unpause, and I would probably be plowed over, caught in this silly pose. Bend my upper body over towards the patty by the side of the road. If I bent far enough, I'd get away with just being hit by the side view mirror. As soon as the thought crossed my mind, the temporal stasis was shattered by the deafening sound of the van. The side mirror struck my shoulder, sending me spinning off through the air like a top, locked in my contorted position. Kasplash! Ah, God! Sent tumbling through the air, I crashed into the muddy patty by the side of the road. My entire body was soiled and drenched, but the choice I had made in that instance was unmistakably for the best. I was covered in mud, but when the alternative was being hit by the car, it was the closest I could be to being unscathed. Rising up from the patty, I had enough in me to glare over at the stopped van and yell profanities at the driver. I'm not sure if he was able to see me, but the van sped off suddenly. Wait, damn it! This was what they call a hit and run, wasn't it? I couldn't help but continue yelling out profanities. The disgrace from being covered in mud hurt me more than my physical wounds. I slogged through the muddy patty and made my way back onto the road. Jeez, this is a crime, goddammit! Shit, I'll track you down and sue you. If I go looking for a van, I'm sure to find it in this little village. The path I was on had rice paddies on either side, and had become so narrow that one car could barely fit through. It wasn't a place you could tear full speed down in a car, let alone pass by pedestrians. Not only was it a narrow road, but the car just now was closer to my side of the road than the other one when it passed me. Even as I cursed, I was desperately trying to suppress the dark cloud roiling up within me. This wasn't just a hit and run. That car just now was trying to run me over, wasn't it? That's what I was thinking. Thinking back, I did feel like there had been a car creeping up on me slowly for a while. That's right. As soon as I'd parted ways with that person taking a walk, I had that feeling the whole time. If it had wanted to pass me, then it had no shortage of chances. Normally I would have felt suspicious and turned around sooner. But I was lost in thought, and now I was kicking myself for not realizing it was there sooner. And then, when the path became narrow and there was no one else in sight, he floored it. If I had hesitated for even a moment, the result would have been no laughing matter. As the adrenaline rush from nearly being run over subsided, and the realization of just how terrifying the preceding events were sunk in, there was no doubt about it. That van was intentionally trying to hit me. A cold, viscous sweat seeped from my scalp and slid down my back before dribbling off. I struggled to avoid falling into a panic. There was still the possibility that this was really just an accident. Calm down, Keiji. But also don't be so naive, Keiji. Being that lax will get you killed next time. You need to always be on your toes. Don't give them any openings. If my enemy was really out to kill me, then next time they would use a more reliable method. If that time came and I was acting like I was now, being covered in mud was the price I had paid for my own naivety. Covered in mud, but without injury. Dude, you got freaking hit. Not even a sprain. The thing hit your shoulder. I guess it was about what you would call the silver lining. I began walking again, this time cautiously. I wouldn't even show a hint of carelessness. I suspected only Rain and the others up until now. No, it was because I had suspected them that I had believed there were no other enemies. Oishi-san had said so, didn't he? There was the possibility that all the families of the village were involved. Was I really mired so deeply in the situation that I had no choice but to try and carry on as usual? Wouldn't it be safest to just try hole myself up in my house? But the moment I abandoned my regular routine, everyone around me would abandon theirs as well. This was just too horrifying of a thought. I recalled the tales Oishi-san told me of when Hinamizawa was still Onikakushi. A frightening tale of an entire village of demons hunting their prey, surrounding them and eating them alive. One must not interfere with the demons. One must not pretend not to see it. Oh, one must pretend not to see it, duh. The enemy were numerous. All the village families. The villagers with their unwavering faith in the curse would do nothing to help me. The strong, sudden flash of sunshine made me slightly dizzy. I had no idea what was going on anymore. When I suspected it was the work of man, I would catch a glimpse of Oyashiro-sama's curse. And when I suspected it was Oyashiro-sama's curse, someone would poke their head out. What was coincidence? What was intentional? Who was my enemy? Who was just a bystander? No. What I really, truly wanted to know was, how did I end up with the proverbial bullseye painted on my back? Eventually, an answer in a form I could understand will appear. I don't care when that will happen, because until then, I cannot die. That alone fueled my resolve to fight, and will keep me alive. And now we're at the school. Oh. I remember this from the zombie hide-and-seek thing. I remembered seeing the metal bat in the gym's storage shed, but there was a padlock on the door barring my entry. At the very least, I wanted to get my hands on it before everyone else arrived at school. I circled around the school grounds impatiently. But all I could find were things like pieces of lumber, nothing that I could bring into the classroom easily. Then, I had an epiphany. I should search inside the classroom. If there was something in the classroom to begin with, then there wouldn't be a problem. Well, good luck, dude. I could tell that everyone's indoor shoes were still in their lockers. Good thing I came early. Nobody else was here yet. I wondered, what could I find in the classroom? I didn't think I could find an especially effective weapon like a bat. But it couldn't be helped at this point. Until the gym storage shed was open, I needed to find a substitute. A lingering hint of naivety whispered out that there was no way I'd be attacked at the school. But such soft ideas would no longer protect me. To think that they were slowly making their way into parts of my life that I had once thought impenetrable. In the worst case, my own house might not be safe anymore. That was an incredibly frightening thought. But I believe that not considering the worst case scenario would have been even more frightening. Anyways, I will survive. So long as I lived, then I will definitely be able to escape this labyrinth of nonsense. Definitely. My exploration of the classroom came to an impasse. That much was to be expected. There was no way there would be anything that could be a weapon in the classroom. In case of emergency, there was probably nothing I could do but swing my own chair around. My gaze landed on the lockers that had come to be used for personal storage. The locker that Mion used to store her pile of games was among them. There was one for each person in the class, all lined up. Of course, there was one for me as well. Oh yeah, there was supposed to still be a tracksuit in my locker. Seeing me covered in mud would be strange. I should go change later. But first, I needed a weapon. If one of my classmates came, it would be hard to rummage through all the lockers. I swiftly began opening the lockers one by one. They were mostly just filled with things like gym clothes, personal items, and umbrellas. An umbrella. If I couldn't find anything better, then this would have to be my weapon. I was about to give up on finding anything decent when I opened a locker that held exactly what I wanted. It was, without a doubt, a metal bat. It was well worn and pretty beaten up, but there was no doubt it was usable. In that locker that reeked of mold, there also hung a baseball uniform. It was probably the locker of a student in a Pee-wee league or something like that. If that was the case, then he'd probably ask for it back. At that time, I could hear the voices of the children scuffling their way noisily from the hallway. Amongst them, I could make out Rika-chan and Satoko. Uh-oh.
Good morning. My, you're quite early this morning, Keiji-san.
I nonchalantly hid the bat I was holding behind my back.
What is with your outfit? You're covered in mud.
Yeah, I had a little incident. I'm going to change now, so cut me some slack. With that said, I began taking off my clothes. Satoko began to blush as I expected her to.
Changing in front of a lady? Have you no tact at all?
I would think that a lady staring at someone who is changing would be the one lacking in tact. There's no changing room for the boy, so just deal with it. As Satoko feigned disgust, she went into the hall, still blushing. Conversely, Rika-chan continued to stare at me, preparing to change. If Rika-chan is a lady as well, then I don't think it would be appropriate for you to be watching.
I'm not a lady, so it's fine.
Oh, hello. That's a little creepy. She deliberately pouted and looked at me with upturned eyes. Then, starting now, you're a lady.
If I'm a lady, then I suppose I must.
Thank you. Rika-chan, appearing to be satisfied with being considered a lady, made her way to join Satoko in the hallway. Just as I breathed a sigh of relief, Rika-chan stopped suddenly and turned back towards me.
Are you going to start playing baseball?
It seems that Rika-chan had noticed the bat. Yeah, just, I was feeling a bit out of shape, so I thought I'd just try practicing my swing.
I think it's wonderful you're taking care of your health.
She was talking like an old lady, despite her appearance. After saying that, Rika-chan started to leave again, but stopped and looked back at me once more.
Please don't lose that bat.
It seems she already knew I took it out of someone's locker. There was no name on the locker door. I didn't know whose bat it was, but I would be borrowing it until they complained. It wouldn't be for long, just until the gym storage shed was opened. After quickly changing into the tracksuit, I checked the time. I still had plenty of time before class began because I came so early. I took the bat in one hand and went out to the schoolyard. That was, of course, to practice my swing. I needed to make it known I would always have a bat on me so I could practice my swing. At some point, the sunlight had become even stronger. Disregarding my classmates as they made their way to school, I took my position in the shadow of the school building. I wasn't the academic type, and I wasn't much of an athlete either. I might get muscle pain if I just suddenly started swinging. I should at least start out with some warm-ups. I doubt anyone would think I was doing something out of the ordinary, which was the exact opposite of my actual mental state. I gripped the bat and swung lightly. The bat was by no means light. The weight would make it a reliable weapon when I needed it to be. Of course, I could only pray that at the moment I needed to use this as a weapon would never come. Just carrying it around could deter attacks against me. At least, that's what I hoped. Uh-oh. Huh?
Kei-chan? What are you doing?
Being bombarded with such a hysterical voice, I jumped.
Whoa, Keiichi-kun, are you on the baseball team?
Oh, whoops. Okay, so Mion talked first and then Hirina. I wish there was a freaking thing that told me which one was talking first.
Whoa, Keiichi-kun, are you on the baseball team? The baseball team?
It was Reina and Mion. I was surprised to hear you went off ahead. What are you doing, Kei-chan? Can't you tell by looking? I'm practicing my swing for the championship. You can say it's part of my diet if you want.
Diet? Kei-chan, are you really that fat?
Bet you didn't know. I actually have a beer belly. It's plump and jiggles.
Plump and jiggles?
Reina, you don't have to imagine something weird like that. To disrupt Reina from imagining something that vulgar, I ruffled her hair messily.
Well then, hope you make it to the regionals at least. This old man will cheer you on.
Regionally speaking, it seems that... Oh, whoops. I think it's her talking.
Regionally speaking, it seems that Oshima High is pretty strong. They say their southpaw, Kameda...
Kameda?
Oh, good lord. Kameda-kun is amazing. Good luck.
Seems they made me out of some kind of local prodigy, but oh well. Well, if I really did make it to the championship, it would be a cinch. After all, I'd be the pitcher and catcher. I'd pitch the ball, then run past that ball I just threw and change over to being the catcher in a burst of super incredible explosive speed. I laughed dryly at the ludicrous image. Coming back to my senses, I smashed the bat against the ground. Damn it! What am I laughing at? I pounded the ground over and over. With each impact, the reverberation traveling through the bat stung my hands. If they make me smile like that, I'll... Don't allow anyone close to me. Don't trust anyone. No matter how many times I tell myself that. If they made me smile like that, I'll... I already knew quite well that there were demons dwelling in my smiling friends. But I just couldn't believe it. Did that kind of split personality really exist? Like how Reina confessed to the doctor. Were they simply being possessed by Oyashiro-sama? In other words, did a supernatural being like Oyashiro-sama really exist? And was it possessing everyone to try and kill me? Yeah, that would be wonderful. If only everyone were actually my friends all along and everything was just Oyashiro-sama's fault. Damned fool, Keiichi Mayabar, come on now! I yelled out, drawing out all the power from the pit of my stomach and raised the bat violently into the air. Stop being so soft! As I screamed out with all my might, I beat the metal bat into the ground over and over. With every impact, my weakness was being beaten down. Smash. Forget. Smash. Don't be soft. Smash. Know your enemy. Smash. Like hell I'd let them kill me. My shoulders heaving up and down from my ragged breathing, I heard the first bell ring just as I calmed down. I gasped with a sudden realization. That was the final bell. As I felt all the tension drain from me, I let out a deep breath. My mind was in a muddled state for much of the entire day. I didn't feel like I was awake, but it didn't feel like I was asleep either. I couldn't say it felt especially comfortable, but I felt kind of relief that the sanctity of the school part of my daily life had yet to be violated. How long would I have to keep on living like this? I could only grit my teeth and bear with it as this living hell slowly gnawed away at me.
Keiichi-kun, come on. It's club time, club time.
The sound of Reina's voice brought me back to my senses.
Come on, Kei-chan. Stop spacing out. Bring your desk.
Everyone was moving their desks together as usual. That's right. It was happy fun club time. But I had no intention of taking part. I haphazardly stuffed the contents of my desk into my bag as I prepared to go home. It was a weak-handed gesture to avoid having to actually say, I'll be going home now.
What's this, Kei-chan? You planning on going home right away again?
Mion sounded quite disappointed. I'm just not in the mood. Could you just let me be for a while? The tone of the words that spilled from my mouth matched Mion's disapproving glare. It felt like the air in the room had dried out. Satoko looked like she was about to say something, but perhaps dissuaded by the mood, she swallowed her words and stayed silent. Nobody said a thing. I took that to mean that I could leave if I wanted. But the collective gaze of the four of them, like the tiny pins used to mount an insect on a display, held me in place. Reina was the one who cut through the heavy mood.
Keiichi-kun, you just didn't like playing with girls, I guess.
She said it in such a melancholic tone that it sent a wave of pain racing through my heart. If this pain was going to kill me, I wanted it to be the soft part of me that could still feel pain. I tore at my chest, violently tearing out the pins that held me in place. That's not it at all! I'd only be hurting myself by saying anything more, so I swallowed my words. Cutting things off there, I turned away and exited the classroom. They didn't speak a word to me as I left. It was a long, dull trip back home, but I didn't lose focus. I firmly squeezed the grip of the bat, which was already soggy from sweat. Realizing that, I wiped it down with my sleeve. If something were to happen, I wouldn't want it to be slippery. Since this morning, I'd become especially sensitive to the presence of cars. Even while walking, my ears prickled up and sought out threatening sounds and presences that could be closing in. And that was why I could hear it. Without a doubt, there were footsteps. Those footsteps had matched up perfectly with mine for a while now. From what I could sense, it was just one person. But I had no intention of being careless. Did they intend to follow me like that car this morning until they were in a good location to assault me? Then it wasn't a good idea to keep walking like this. I stopped walking and looked back. The wooded path, crowded with trees, responded with silence, as if there was nobody there to begin with. But I wouldn't be fooled. I was certain footsteps were following me. And just as I stopped, the footsteps stopped as well. Meaning, the person following me wanted to keep their distance. That was, without question, proof that I was their target. I held my breath, waiting for that presence to panic and start moving again. The trees rustled with the sound of the wind. The Higurashi also joined in the dissonant chorus, trying to throw my focus into disarray. Had 5 minutes passed? Or had I been like this for a whole 30 minutes? It was so hard to breathe that I might have suffocated. It seemed I would be the first one to panic. Without a doubt, he was lurking in the shade of that tree with bated breath. Then, I'd make the first move. I fixed my grip on the bat. I raised it up to my shoulder to be ready to swing at any time. Hey! I know you're there! With all my might, I screamed at whoever was hiding in the shades of the trees. But the presence in the shade didn't budge. Until the moment I found them, they had no intention of revealing themselves. I know already! I know you're there! I screamed out angrily at them again, but even still, they didn't move at all. Then I'll go over there myself! With all due vigilance, I approached, step by step. Stepping into the tree's shadow, I saw a human figure there. That figure was curled up like a small animal. Reina! Reina! When she realized I had found her, her expression softened. She seemed apologetic, but wasn't going to speak a word. Did you have some business with me? I wouldn't accept that silence and screamed the question at her.
Not really, it's just,
Reina was in a panic with tears welling up in her eyes, but it was obvious that she had been following me.
What about the club?
Oh, what about the club?
Since you're not, I'm not.
That shouldn't matter. Don't mind me and just play.
But I'm just worried about you.
Thinking about how I'd been acting up until now, it wasn't hard to imagine that my behavior could have been perceived as strange. So Reina was concerned. At a quick glance, that's how it would seem. But I wasn't going to let my guard down that easily. Even if that really was the case, she still wouldn't have to do something like try to tail me. She should have called out to me when I was leaving and gone right out with me. But Reina didn't do that. She kept her distance from me and matched my walking speed. On top of that, she matched the sound of her footsteps and deviously tried to hide her presence from me. Then after she realized I noticed she was there, she held her breath as she tried hiding from me. She wore a timid expression that would force one to take pity on her, but without a doubt, she was tailing me. Stop following me. Still glaring at Reina, I continued walking onwards. After I'd walked for a bit, she ignored my command and began walking again, so I yelled at her once more. I told you not to follow me!
Eek, but my house is in the same direction.
Then walk ahead of me. I'll start walking once I can't see you anymore. I moved out of the way and waved my bat violently to urge her forward.
I'd like to go home together with you.
Making a pitiful expression, she meekly squeaked out the words in a voice that she knew would cut into my heart. That agitated me to no end. I knew it was a lie. If you wanted to go home together, then you should have called out to me. Now you're just blurting out random lies.
I'm sorry.
It seemed that the seething anger within me was written all over my face. Even without me saying anything, Reina had understood what I was feeling inside. If you get it, then go. I swung the bat, urging her again to walk. Reina looked back and forth between me and the bat and started walking hesitantly, then stopped again. Go on then, hurry!
I'm going! So please stop with the bat. It's scary.
Reina guarded herself by pointing at me holding the bat. She may have realized that I wasn't planning on using this bat for baseball. I lowered the bat, but still guardedly opened the way for her. Go. There's no problem now, is there? There was nothing else she could protest. She passed by me timidly, so as not to set me off. As I watched her pass by, she stopped completely after having barely moved at all. Hey, don't stop! Then, A powerful gust blew past us, barraging my face with dust. The dust got into my eyes and clouded my vision. While rubbing my eyes with my left hand, I swung blindly with the bat in my right, protecting the small opening I had presented. But Reina didn't even try to attack during that opening. Attack me? No, she hadn't budged an inch. I could tell from the sound of her fluttering skirt in the wind. As her skirt settled, so did the silence. At that moment, the voice inside of me immediately warned me of impending danger. I was caught by surprise. The smell of the air had changed. Without me realizing it, the air around me suddenly felt like a calamity was about to befall me. It was like the air had suddenly become invisible concrete, like Reina and I were locked in this space. Reina didn't move an inch. Also unable to move, I stared at her back. Reina was the first to break the silence. Instantly, she altered her stance. I felt like I had just witnessed her shift from Reina into that other person who looks like Reina. But the voice was one I knew well, which filled me with a kind of bewildering pity. Carelessly, I felt relief upon hearing that pitiful voice.
Well, excuse me, but, can I ask you something?
Too shy to even turn around, Reina squeezed her voice out desperately, as she trembled. What?
Well, why do you have a bat, I wonder?
The question Reina asked was by no means unexpected. I can carry whatever I want.
But you didn't have one up until today. Why so suddenly?
It's all right if I decide to do something suddenly, isn't it? Is it strange that I have a bat?
Because, Keiichi, you're not the kind of person to play baseball. It's weird.
I couldn't tell what kind of answer she was looking for, and I was getting tired of answering her. I just suddenly got the urge to play baseball. Is that so weird?
It's weird.
She answered instantly, and that annoyed me slightly. I just suddenly wanted to play baseball, and I wanted to practice my swing, so I'm carrying around a bat. What's strange about that?
Strange. Weird. Definitely. Why is Keiichi-kun also?
Your ramblings are annoying me. Is it that strange for me to have an interest in sports? I tried to sound a bit more threatening to end the conversation. Until my suspicions about Reina were cleared, I had no obligation to answer her questions.
I'm sorry. Don't get so angry.
Reina still didn't turn around and spat out words of apology one after the next. Just one last thing. Oh.
Tell me one last thing.
I don't feel like talking anymore. Hurry up and go. I yelled loudly at her, causing her to flinch like she had been struck. Seeing her in such a pathetic state caused my heart to ache sorely. But even though she was afraid, she stubbornly kept herself from moving. Before I was able to threaten her again, Reina asked her final question. I don't like where this is going.
Why is that bat the same, too?
What did she mean by the bat was the same? I had no idea what she was talking about. What are you saying?
I mean, why is even the bat the same?
I don't understand what you mean at all. Say it clearly. Even still, Reina didn't turn around. After inhaling deeply, she screamed.
I mean, why is even the bat the same as Satoshi-kun's?
Satoshi being... Huh? Upon hearing that name out of the blue, I became dumbfounded for a brief moment. By Satoshi, did she mean the student who transferred out last year? No, that couldn't be. Reina had tried to cover it up by saying she had transferred, but Uchi-san told me quite clearly that he was missing. He was the student who sat at my seat up until last year. He was believed to have been demoned away by Oyashiro-sama's curse. I didn't know the details about his disappearance. The aunt he lived with was killed the night of the Watanagashi hit by a drug addict, and not long after that he suddenly vanished and was now missing. That Satoshi and I were... What? My gaze fell to the bat in my hands. Could it be? Satoshi Hojo. It was a bit difficult to see, but that was what was written on the white tape at the end of the bat. I see. So this was Satoshi's bat. This was Satoshi's bat. Since nobody was using it, I borrowed it. That's not a problem, is it?
That's not it.
The way Reina said that made it seem like this bat was something that should have never been touched. Like it was some sort of offering at a shrine, or a memento of the deceased. I could only stand there, perplexed and unable to respond. Reina continued speaking without waiting for a reply.
Why is it that you're doing the exact same thing Satoshi-kun did when it happened to him?
What? What? Reina was talking about more than just the bat belonging to Satoshi.
It was the same with Satoshi-kun. He joined a baseball team, but he didn't really like baseball.
What does that have to do with me?
Satoshi-kun also suddenly started walking around with a bat one day. He joined a team, but he wasn't the type to play sports.
What about it? I closed my mouth before I could say that out loud. Listen carefully, Keiji. Reina's trying to tell us something important.
Satoshi-kun also one day came to school all by himself all of a sudden, just like Keiji-kun. Then one day he suddenly started practicing his swing, just like Keiji-kun. Then one day he suddenly began carrying the bat around with him, just like Keiji-kun. Then one day he suddenly...
What? Reina had swallowed her words. Reina's sudden silence brought a hush back to the surrounding area. It was then I could finally digest the content of the entire conversation. She was saying my chain of actions was exactly the same as Satoshi's. What was the meaning of this? Up until just now, I'd forgotten all about Satoshi. I'd never paid much thought to him in the first place. Not only that, I didn't even know anything of what he'd done. Okay, so let's digest this for a moment. Let's just say for the sake of argument that Oyashiro-sama is actually real right now. Is he just repeating past events? Like instilling something into these people to make them repeat certain events, but for some reason, I guess Reina somehow knows about it? But then again, that doesn't explain why she kind of kept like all the information about Satoshi a secret, like she didn't really tell Keiji anything. Okay, so another thing. Keiji is doing the same thing that Satoshi was doing. Which goes to say that this happened before, and then it resulted in him being demoned away. I'm just assuming Satoshi was a boy. Then again, they probably explained it in the back. I can't remember. This really makes me wonder, though. I don't know whether to believe Oyashiro-sama is a thing, or this is Reina just play-acting again, trying to mess with us. Let's continue and find this out real quick. My actions today should have been my own creation, after all the planning I had done. But they had been the exact same as Satoshi's? Then, Satoshi, no, more importantly, if both Satoshi and I acted the same way, then there was a really good possibility that what had happened after would be the same. Reina, that day, what happened to Satoshi? Reina knew. She knew what became of Satoshi. No, forget about what happened to a guy in the past. Reina knew what was going to happen to me. Answer me, Reina. Satoshi, what happened to him? With that, I grabbed Reina's shoulder violently and forcibly turned her around to face me. As I faced her, I felt a jolt travel through my entire body. Oh, god damn it! I told you, Keiji-kun. It was that person that I didn't know. At least it definitely wasn't the Reina Ryugu I'd been talking to up until now. The voice just now didn't have a trace of the trembling or emotion that I'd had before. The amount of regret I felt for turning her around so carelessly was unsurpassed. That gaze that pierced like a cold needle, the smile on her face that invoked an image of having been carved out by a knife. Chills went down my spine. What the fuck? My mind froze under a layer of rime. Both of Reina's eyes pierced through mine, leaving me unable to look away. As if to remind me of the fear from that time before, Reina brought her face close to mine, so close that I could feel her breath. Her face had filled my entire field of vision. Then, her sharply shaped lips grew ever sharper. Like the curve of a crescent moon, she grinned.
I told you, Keiji-kun.
After a short pause, Reina repeated the same words again.
Satoshi-kun, you see, transferred out.
Transferred, meaning what? What Reina meant must have been some new definition of transfer that I was previously not aware of. My throat and lips dried up. I couldn't even acknowledge what I had just heard. All I could do was swallow down my own saliva. It would seem that Reina saw that as a nod. She pulled her gaze back and spryly stepped back, too, 3 paces. As she did, my legs gave out and I fell to my knees pathetically. Reina, and me on my knees underneath her emotionless smile. That had to be a very odd sight indeed. Seeing me in that pathetic state, she neither scoffed at me nor held out her hand. But I could neither stand nor escape with her gaze shooting through my eyes. There was undoubtedly a metal bat in my hand, but right now it was useless to me. I was like a fly caught in her web. Heavy sweat beaded all over my body. I could feel it dripping down my skin.
But you won't, will you, Keiji-kun?
Reina finally released me from that cage of time after what felt like an eternity. But her question was missing something important and was incredibly vague. Once again, I swallowed hard, urging her on. Do what? What does she not want me to do? Transfer. Fucking hell, that face. Really? It cuts in half there? Good lord! Ugh. God, that face gets me every time. Achievement unlocked, pitch hitter. Interesting. Satoshi and I had what? All my well-planned actions throughout the day turned out to have been nothing more than a reenactment of what Satoshi had done. Satoshi, had he really been in the same situation as I was now? The friends he had gotten along with had changed suddenly, and for no reason, at least none that I had noticed, planned to kill him? Then, fearing for his life as I am, he got a bat to protect himself and carried it around every day to practice his swing? And then one day, suddenly, he transferred. My blood went cold, causing a prickling sensation to course through my veins. Starting near my throat. Starting near my heart. Why the fuck did I say throat? It radiated outwards, from the top of my head to the soles of my feet, chilling every part of me without recourse. What did she mean by transfer? What did she mean by transfer? Was Satoshi still at wherever he transferred to? Was he the only one who would be able to understand me? Would he be able to tell me why it all ended up like this? More importantly, where did he transfer to? What did she mean by transfer? What does she mean by transfer? Before I knew it, I was at my front door. The frigid knob was hard to turn. Was nobody home? It wasn't that odd of an occurrence. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the single key attached to my fur seal keychain. I stepped into the entryway. Just as I was about to take off my shoes, a chill ran down my spine. Someone had entered right behind me. Like a classmate messing around, standing right up against my back. You're kidding, right? It had to be my imagination. Logically speaking, it was impossible for someone to be able to hide their presence within my personal space all the way through the door. But there was undoubtedly someone behind me. Hey now, Keiichi. How do you know they're there even though they're behind you? Because I could hear the sound of flowing hair. There's no other reason I'd hear that sound. That was the presence. Because I could hear the sound of them blinking. Keiichi Maebara, there's no way you could hear that. It was mostly instinct than anything else that was warning me of that presence. Common sense was telling me that it was just my imagination. It was just my imagination. There was nobody behind me. I began to erase the mental image of an eerie figure standing behind me. But at the same time, I asked myself, if there was nobody, then what was I feeling? As an uncomfortable sensation crawled up my spine. Actually, wouldn't it be better if there was someone there? If there was nobody there when you turned around, would you be able to accept that? I'd be able to answer all those questions just by looking behind me. But I didn't have enough courage to even do that simple task. Oh, right. I could try speaking to them. The person behind me might answer me. It was a random thought. I didn't care how I went about it, just so long as I didn't have to turn around. If I had calmed down and thought about it, I would have known that that wouldn't have solved anything. Who is it? I spoke in such a hoarse, broken voice that I couldn't believe it was my own. I could almost feel them contemplating their response. I felt it. There's no way I should be able to do that. Calm down, Keiichi. It's all in your head. That time, I was certain I heard it. As if hesitantly trying to answer my inquiry, I was certain I could hear the sound of somebody inhaling. I heard it. I heard it. I heard it clearly. It was a girl. A young girl. I didn't know who, but a tiny speck of courage in me, however reckless it was, inspired a primal yet fitting solution to this current predicament. A scream. All the force of my body released from my lungs and through my throat, ceasing all thought processes in my head. Suppressing all my thoughts and emotions, I began to collapse like a house of cards, somehow managing to twist my body and look back as I did so. It was definitely there. Right there. Somebody was there. Until the moment I turned around, until I brought the area behind me into my field of vision, they were definitely there. Falling face up, my eyes traced the remnants of the presence suspended in the empty space. It couldn't be. They were invisible. They looked like they weren't there, but were they actually still standing there? As I screamed, all the emotions I was holding back burst free in a violent wave. However, I was decidedly calm as my emotional dam collapsed. The turbulent wave of pent-up emotions was skillfully diverted into a torrent of aggression. That emotion was definitely required to extricate myself from the bizarre situation happening right in front of me. In my state of heightened lucidity, I entrusted my body to the fury. That metal bat I held firmly in my right hand as if drawn there by a magnet. A mid-level sweep would be the hardest attack to dodge. I remembered reading something like that from a book about swordsmanship or something. Hurrah! I brandished my will to fight. The after-image of that amalgamation of metal flashes that swung from my left to right, beating against the entryway. Okay. The bat slammed into the right wall, the tip rebounding violently. Very calmly, I transferred the force of the rebound into a sweep to the left. The door of the shoe cupboard was split into pieces. Those two swings whiffed through empty space, but they seemed to have a great psychological impact on the enemy. I could feel the panic emanating from that space. The attack wasn't the only thing required. I extricated the bat from the cupboard it was embedded in and screamed as I spun my entire body around in a large arc. Hurrah! My scream shook the air, imbuing my ferocious swing with even more destructive power. Crack! Without mercy or restraint, my violent strike, with certainly fatal force behind it, shattered the top of the cupboard. None of my attacks struck the enemy, but my ferocity had certainly seemed to impact them. Breathing heavily, my entire body soaked in sweat. The invisible enemy, there, but not there, dispersed. Breathing heavily, my entire body soaked in sweat. The invisible enemy, there, but not there, dispersed. Whoops. When I was certain that the enemy had retreated, I locked the front door and latched the chain. No way had it only feigned retreat and was now inside my house. Once again, I channeled my aggression and searched the house for the presence, but it was gone. I had succeeded in fending it off. At that moment, the tension drained from my body and I let out a deep sigh of relief. All the emotions I'd been holding back chaotically merged together and began to flood out. A hodgepodge of fear, accomplishment, and disbelief all mixed together and began to flow through my body. Unable to deal with each individual feeling, I beat them all back with the strongest exhaustion. Even in this moment, I remained composed. After checking that all the doors throughout the house were locked, I went up to my room on the second floor and closed the curtains. I straightened my back and tilted my head back a little. After clearing my mind of all my idle thoughts, I managed to calm down even more. What was that at the front door? There was definitely something there. Thinking about it, maybe it was just an apparition I dreamt up in my confused state, but I really didn't think that was the case. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. Compose yourself. But no matter how calmly I thought about it, what had just happened wasn't a figment of my imagination. It was obviously a supernatural phenomena, and without a doubt, something was behind me. It wasn't some sort of illusion I saw amidst my confusion and disorientation. Proof? I had just one piece. When I asked, "Who is it?" they inhaled as if they were about to answer. That sound had clearly reached my ears. The situation I was in right now was still unclear. Either I'd been possessed by the supernatural phenomenon known as Oyashiro-sama's curse, or this was a ruse by the villagers who believed in it and were imitating it. Either way, their motives were unclear. The roundabout way it had been done was also still a mystery. If it was perpetrated by humans, that would mean admitting it that it was Reina and the rest of them doing it, but it would be solvable. Oishi-san and the rest of the police would surely arrest my enemy, but if it was a manifestation of Oyashiro-sama's curse, I wondered what would happen. Oishi-san very clearly declared that curses didn't exist. At that time, those words were pretty dependable, but as things were now, with the rising possibility that the perpetrators were not human, he suddenly seemed quite unreliable. If I told Oishi-san this was the work of Oyashiro-sama's curse, what would happen? I couldn't imagine his reaction, but it would go without question that a void would expand rapidly between myself and Oishi-san. With me having so few allies to begin with, and not being able to confidently declare whether or not this was a curse or not, there was no merit to doing that. I'd better keep the facts of what had just happened at the doorway to myself. It would be better if I didn't add what happened here to the memo behind the clock. There was still the ever so slight possibility that I was actually confused when I thought I was composed, and I was just going berserk in the entryway. How wonderful would that be if that was really what happened? I would be able to refute Oyashiro-sama's curse. But if I denied Oyashiro-sama's curse, then that would mean admitting that Reina and the rest were the perpetrators. If I said that Reina and the rest weren't the perpetrators, then that would mean believing in Oyashiro-sama's curse. By denying both of those, I would be admitting that I myself was losing it. The three options from which I couldn't choose became a trilemma of sorts. They mixed together and formed a whirlpool in my mind, making my head spin. Once again, I straightened myself and leaned my head back slightly to cool myself down. Calm down, Keiji. Accept what was actually happened as reality. Stop thinking of anything more than that. But I couldn't help but think of it. How wonderful it would be if it turned out that I was delirious and everything up until now was a figment of my imagination. Oyashiro-sama's curse wouldn't exist, and I would still be bestest buddies with Reina and the rest. I would have to be crazy. That was the first time in my life I'd ever wished for such a thing. Oh, phone! The phone rang noisily downstairs. For a second I thought it was over. Generally there were no calls for me, so I never really answered the phone much, but since my parents were here I had no choice. I squirmed off the bed and went downstairs. Hello, this is the Maya Bar residence. Keiji, this is Mom. I intuitively had a bad feeling about this. It was because I thought she was going to ask me to go out and buy some things, so I took the initiative. What? I don't mind having instant noodles for dinner. There's still a lot of them. The other day we went out as a family and bought a whole case of cup noodles. I wanted to get a bunch of different kinds actually, but they refused since the individual packs were expensive. So instead, I got a whole case of the mega-sized pork bone and ginger flavored ones I liked. That actually sounds pretty good. But my parents didn't like strong flavors and didn't touch any of them, so the cupboards were still full of them. So you see, there really isn't need to go shopping, right? Keiichi, I'm not asking you to go shopping. Both Mommy and Daddy have to go to Tokyo right now because of work. Huh? Right now? This was really abrupt. No, we're already here. We left this afternoon. It's quite a distance to Tokyo from it's quite a distance from Tokyo to Hinamizawa. Gunning at full speed down the highway would still take 6 hours. Dad has a license, but since he doesn't like the highway, they likely took the train. It would have taken longer. I'm thinking you might understand since you heard us speaking last night, but it has to do with Daddy's contract. Right now, things aren't going so smoothly. Now that she mentioned it, I did remember that they talked all that time about how his job and prospects weren't looking so good. Daddy is really sensitive about things like this, so if we leave things as they are, it will affect his work. Part of my father's particular fragile artistic personality. His emotions changed as easily as the fall sky. You could also just say he didn't take criticism. But something like that can be done over the phone. Keiji, this is your father's job, so can you support him a bit, please? Anyway, it's just faster to talk about it in person, so there wouldn't be any misunderstandings. As their son, there was nothing more I could say once they started talking about work. So we'll be back tomorrow night. Keiji, will you be fine on your own? It's not like I'll die or anything. Keiji, you shouldn't speak so lightly of dying. If there's something trouble you, just talk to us. I believe Mommy will be able to help out. Yesterday I did bring up if I died rather abruptly, so I suppose they were a little worried. But really, I was more depressed by the fact that nothing would be solved by telling them. But I didn't plan on dying. At least not while I still knew nothing. I would never allow it. I won't die. I won't. I'll survive even if I have to gnaw my leg off. Yeah. See you then. Tomorrow morning, make sure to wake up and eat your breakfast. And don't forget to take a bath and brush your teeth. Yeah. See you. The call ended like that. Sometimes my parents went off to Tokyo for business meetings. But Tokyo was far away. They normally did things by phone. The times they did go were normally planned out in advance. It never happened this suddenly. I couldn't say that those circumstances didn't feel strange, or rather, unnatural. Anyway, I only needed to recognize the reality of the situation. That tonight, I was the only one in the house. That when my parents came back from work, I'd be gone. Missing. Vanished. Looking back on the series of events of the previous 5 years involving Yashiro-sama's curse, it wouldn't seem that strange at all. Come to think of it, it was getting pretty late. I didn't think it was good that the only light in the whole house was from my room on the second floor. It was the same as broadcasting to the enemy that my parents were gone and this was their chance. First, I ran to the living room, flicked on the lights, and turned the TV on to reassuring volume. Next was the study. I simply turned on the lights and sent music. With this, from the outside, it looked like my parents were here. Once again, I went through the house, checking to see if there was anything left unlocked. When I saw the veranda and the laundry still hanging out there, I went pale. That would have made it too obvious. I needed to take it down. I snatched down the laundry haphazardly and erased all traces that my mother wasn't there. It should be fine now. The garage! They hadn't gone all the way to Tokyo by car, but they had gone up to Okinawa Station. The garage was empty, wide open and in plain sight. This wasn't good. I panicked and rushed out to the back to close the normally open garage door. It should be fine now. I need to get the paper. Mom always got the paper since they left in the afternoon. The evening paper was still out there. My premonition was correct. I pulled out everything from the mailbox and dropped it in the entryway. With this, for sure this time, it should be fine. Come to think of it, leaving the cupboard busted like that for my little freakout was kind of bad. I'll just say I tripped and fell and the bat I was holding smashed into it. Even so, just leaving it in its current state wasn't good. I should clean it up a little before Mom got back and scolded me. I remembered that there was a broom and dustpan in the closet. As I was getting to get them, the phone rang once again. Oh boy. Hello, this is the Mayabara residence.
Oh, is this Keiji-kun? Is your mother around?
She isn't here at the moment.
You idiot, Keiji Mayabara! Don't reveal that your parents are gone! You can follow up still. Calm down and take care of it.
I think she'll be back soon. That wasn't a good response either. Now they might say they'll call again, or to tell her to call them when she comes back.
Oh, then that's fine.
It wasn't anything important. Well then, sorry for the bother. The scenario of fear didn't play out, eliciting a sigh of relief. That call was fortunate in more ways than one. I'd have to deal with more telephone calls coming in from my parents tonight. I was somehow able to deal with the phone call just now, but I couldn't continue to rely on such poor improvisation. I needed to make up a good story to explain that my parents were home but couldn't answer the phone at the moment. They were making tempura and couldn't step away right now. That wasn't good enough. They were sick and went to bed because they weren't feeling well. Was I going to be safe enough? I was thinking about it on the way back to my room when the phone rang once again. It was like they were calling because they knew I was going to lie. I didn't want to pick up, but I knew I had to. they'd suspect my parents weren't here. I should have just taken the phone off the hook under the pretense that I didn't realize that it was. But since the phone rang, I had to pick it up. I prepared myself and lifted up the receiver. Hello? I stopped announcing this was the Mayabara residence. I had no reason to be kind to someone I didn't know the identity of. But unlike my uncouth voice, the person on the other side sounded goofy and lighthearted. Hello. My apologies for calling so late. This is... Oh. This is Oishi from the I can't even speak right now. This is Oishi from the Okinomiya bookstore. Oishi-san! Is that you, Mayabara-san? Good evening. Good to hear you're doing well. Good to hear you're doing well. Wait just a moment, please. I grabbed the portable handset and rushed up to my room with it. It was the same no matter where I was since there was no one else home, but I wanted to be in a spot that just felt a bit safer when speaking on the phone with Oishi-san. Sorry for the wait. How are things? Anything changed since then? Since then? When was that exactly? There was something about the brazen way he talked about it that rubbed me the wrong way. The last time I spoke with Oishi-san was 2 days ago. The day I stayed home from school, I met Oishi-san on the way back from the hospital, and we headed into town for lunch and had a talk. Then after that, Reina and Mion came to check up on me. Whenever I spoke with Oishi-san, they always knew about it. It was like that since the first time I met him. Today's phone call may well be found out by them as well. Hello? Can you hear me, Mayabara-san? Huh? Sorry. What did you say? I asked if anything's changed since last time. There wasn't an answer, so I got a bit worried. Not really. The words stopped in my throat. There was a ton of stuff that had happened. All of it baffling. What should I talk about? I didn't understand any of it, but I should try asking. If I didn't ask now, I may never have another chance. This night when my parents weren't home, I had no guarantees I would make it through the night safely after all. Well, Oishi-san, it seems that someone is after me. Really? It could all just be a coincidence, but that day I missed school when I was sick. The two of them came to check up on me. Which two? Reina and Mion. They started asking about how I had lunch with you. What next? They left me some mochi when they came to visit, but there was a needle inside. Fortunately, I somehow didn't swallow it. I wonder, could that have just been a threat? About the needle. It was just one of those common sewing needles you see all the time. There was a hole to thread string through. Not that, Mayabara-san. The needle itself. That's evidence. It could be used as proof that they threatened you. Where is that needle? That's right! That's it! I dropped the receiver and rushed downstairs. When I tossed the mochi, I'd overlooked it out of terror, but that needle was a valuable piece of evidence. Holy shit, I didn't even think of that. Okay, I had certainly thrown the mochi and needle at the wall together. If it was there, then it would be on the living room wall. But my prudent mother had cleaned that living room wall, and there was not a trace of mochi left on it. Could it be that it dropped in the gap between the walls and the carpet? I frantically searched by running my palm along the carpet, but nothing turned up. I tried moving around the sofa and desks, pulling up the carpet, then flapping it around. But I couldn't find the needle. Damn it! Did my mom clean up everything without noticing it? It was just 2 days ago. I didn't know what day they collected the burnable trash, but it still may be in the trash bin in the kitchen. Dude, fucking look for it! I rushed in the kitchen, opened up the lid of the pail, and poured out the contents. But even at a glance, I could tell that it would be incredibly difficult to find the needle in this pile of trash. I was looking for a needle in a trash stack. I know. I'll try running my hand through it. It was a bit gross, but I was looking for a needle. If I felt a small prick, I'll be able to find it. It was a pretty tactless method, but it was the quickest. I held my breath and started striking the pile of trash with my hand. Filth flew about. There was nothing more disgusting than this, but it was not the time to be concerned about such details. I continued on for a while, but nothing turned up. I wanted to search more thoroughly, but I was still on the phone. I shouldn't keep Oishi-san waiting for too long. Later, when Mom got back, I'd have to ask her if there was a needle. I hastily began scribbling on the notepad affixed to the refrigerator with a magnet. Was there a needle? I scrawled the words with a red pen. I then dashed back up the stairs where I had been keeping Oishi-san waiting for far too long. Damn. Hello?
Oh, hello? How did it go?
I couldn't find it. I was really overwhelmed back then and...
I see. It would be great if you could find it. Keep it safe.
That's right. The needle wasn't the only incident. I had to tell him about this morning with the hit and run. Also, Oishi-san, that isn't all. Actually, this morning, that van was definitely aiming for me. I could say that without question due to the circumstances at the time.
Did you see the license plate? I could search for it from here.
Damn! I just flipped out yelling at him back then, but I didn't look at the plate. What failures on my part with the needle on the... What failures on my part with the needle and the plate number? I was just so focused just protecting myself that I let some of the most important details slip out of my grasp. I pinched my pillow, annoyed at how worthless I was. I'm sorry. I don't know much... Oh. I don't know much more than that it was a white van.
Nothing to fret about, Mayabara-san. Anyone would be shaken up after being hit.
I guess all this really isn't a coincidence, is it? Oishi-san started to hem and haw over on the other end. I couldn't imagine him folding his arms. Also, Reina is acting strange.
How so?
Well, Reina stood on the way home today, asking why I was so much like Satoshi-kun. Now I could say it with confidence. That Reina knew what happened to Satoshi. She knew that there was more to it than just him simply disappearing. Reina knows. She knows something regarding what happened to Satoshi, the kid who was demoned away last year.
What would that be exactly?
Reina said I was the same as Satoshi. She said something to the effect that the way things are going, I'll end up with the same fate as Satoshi.
Fate, you say? Exactly what kind of fate did she say would befall you?
Transferring out, she said.
Transferring out?
Reina said Satoshi transferred out. So, given how things are going with me, I'll transfer out too. Oishi-san let out a stern sigh and then grumbled loudly.
Mayabara-san, that was probably some sort of threat, or maybe some type of warning.
I thought so too. At that point, I started to think. Would it be prudent to sum up everything that had happened up until now as the machinations of some human perpetrator? Other than the theory of it being Reina and the others, I was left with Oyashiro-sama's curse actually existing as the only other explanation. Of course, I couldn't tell that to Oishi-san. Except, Reina's strange behavior could be proof of either scenarios. Whether it was Oyashiro-sama's curse being real, or everything being part of a conspiracy committed by all of the villagers. Reina was involved. Reina had to know something. Reina was suspicious. What exactly was Reina? I couldn't help but think she was somehow involved with the prior string of mysterious deaths. I seem to recall that Oishi-san had admitted that he had dug into Reina's past a little. He was probably just downplaying it when he said a little, meaning he had actually dug pretty deep, most likely. I wanted to hear about Reina. I wanted to know what happened at her previous school, among other things that were still unknown to me. Even if Reina was somebody I should suspect. No, not that. I wanted to know the truth. Tonight I was alone in this huge house. Even though I said I couldn't count on them, I had lost the security I felt I had just by my parents being around. It wasn't like this house has some sort of fortress or castle. If a malicious person decided to use brute force, they'd easily gain entry. There were no other residents close to the Mayabara residence. No one would be able to hear anything, no matter how loud it was. I'd never felt as much resentment towards my father's artistic temperament and the fact that he had this house built in such a remote location as I did right now. God, that scared me. Just the sound of that. I know what that is. That's the door. I wonder if I would still be here by tomorrow morning. So I had to ask. Right now. Because I had no idea when the next chance would come.
Oishi-san, I have something I wanted to ask about. Please don't keep anything from me.
Oh, whoops. Sorry, I totally got that wrong.
Sure, ask away.
Even though he was so far on the other end of the line, this is the most reliable he had ever felt. I wanted to ask about Reina. About what happened at her previous school.
Actually, regarding Reina's...
I noticed a sound that had been going on for a while now. Since I was so focused on the call, I hadn't paid attention to it at first, but I finally recognized it was the doorbell. The time was 7 o'clock. It was past the time the postman would be making the delivery, and past any sensible time for a neighbor to be visiting. I considered just acting like nobody was home, but that wouldn't be good. That would ruin all the work I had put in making it look like my parents were home. I need to answer the door.
Hello, Maya Bar-san.
Sorry, someone seems to be at the door. I'm gonna go see who it is.
A guest. I see. My apologies. Should we end this phone call now?
That would be a problem. No, I'll be back in a second. Do you mind if I just leave the phone on?
It's fine. I don't mind.
I dropped the handset on my bed and dashed down to the door. I needed to make up a good excuse to get them to leave. Oh boy. I had a hunch it was the lady who called right before Oishi-san did. In which case it would be one of the neighbors who's friends with my mom? Well, that could be good. I hope. I'll just say Mom isn't feeling well and went to bed early. And that would be the easiest option. Might be. It'd be hard for her to ask me to wake my mom up if she's not feeling well. The bell continued to ring at irregular intervals. If someone didn't answer after you rang the bell so much, you'd normally give up and go home, wouldn't you? Without removing the chain, I opened the door slightly and peered out at the visitor. A chill ran down my spine. I knew it. Somewhere deep inside, I had prepared for this moment. I tried to escape by imagining it was the easiest person to deal with. One of my mom's friends. Oh, God, don't tell me it can't be. It's not her, is it? Oh, God damn it. And she's wearing that outfit. Good evening. Reina? There shouldn't be any reason for Reina to come over at this hour. The timing also made me feel uneasy, because it was just as I was about to ask Oishi-san about Reina. I wish I could have chalked this up to mere coincidence. But those unsettling words from Mion several days ago echoed back to me. There's nothing this old man doesn't know. Are you alone, Reina? Yeah. It seems that Mion wasn't with her, but that didn't change the situation at all. Why did you come here?
Hey, Keiji-kun, I'd like you to open the door so we can talk. Can I come inside, I wonder?
It was true that speaking through a chained door wasn't the right way to talk to a classmate, but... at my house, the chain has to be on at night. Don't worry about it.
Then it can't be helped, I guess.
Reina pouted rather sadly, but she kept smiling at least, and her effort to keep that smile up was quite pitiful. Even though she was tugging at my heartstrings, it didn't lower my guard. As long as I stayed like this, even if it made my heart ache, my life wasn't in danger. What I really feared, more than the possibility that hoodlums would assault me if I removed the chain, was trusting Reina enough to remove the chain and having my friendship betrayed. As long as the chain wasn't unlatched, even if it made my heart ache, I wouldn't have to deal with being betrayed by Reina. Since it didn't seem like I'd removed the chain from her silent urging, she appeared to give up on trying to get into the entranceway.
Have you eaten yet, Keiji-kun?
No, I haven't eaten. Since my mom wasn't there, dinner wouldn't be ready no matter how long I waited. I laid down when I got home, was woken up by the phone, and didn't have a chance to eat since I used up all that time talking. I was going to have cup noodles in any case. I could just eat one whenever I wanted to. No, not yet. What about it?
Then good. Look here. I brought a bunch of dishes.
Reina held out a stack of boxes wrapped in a cloth.
If I could use your kitchen, I can heat up the miso soup and other stuff.
It's fine, you don't need to do that.
But there's a lot of tofu and vegetables in it. Does Keiji-kun not like that type of stuff? I wonder.
There's no way I wouldn't like that. I love miso soup with lots of ingredients. White radish, carrots, burdock root and potatoes, dense and fibrous root vegetables. Yeah, that miso soup looks incredible.
I also brought rice, so if you microwave it, you can eat it really quickly.
Without a doubt, rice needs miso soup. Stuffing rice down your gullet, sipping it in miso soup in between ravenous bites. Oh yes, how wonderful it is to be born Japanese.
Also, I made some more pickles. I made sansei pickles this time.
Before I had moved here to Hinamizawa, I scoffed at the mountain vegetables called sansai. But I was captivated by their charm the first time I tried them. Such a deep yet light flavor. The vegetables from the supermarket were tasteless and bland compared to these. Okay, you're talking about your food, but there's a girl in the middle of the night bringing you food, and this girl has been scaring a little apple Jesus out of you. And you're talking about the food. And not looking at the situation. If you had to describe them, then they were the vegetables for the uninitiated. To become an expert such as myself, you first had to partake of sansai. It was common knowledge around here that the Ryugu family's traditional pickles were wonderfully delicious. No matter what kind of pickles they were, they'd go so well with that fluffy white rice.
And also.
But wait, there's more? It's so delicious. It just seems so delicious. Farewell to my unhealthy self who said he'd make do with cup noodles. Reina appeared to be in good spirits and she was offering such a delicious sounding dinner. The stress evaporated from my gut and hunger reared its voracious head. At the same time, my awareness of Reina suddenly dwindled. Reina did say she was alone. It shouldn't be a problem letting her inside. Though the possibility that I was laced with poison still hadn't been ruled out. At that moment, a cold chill ran down my spine once again. I couldn't understand why such a sensation had occurred just then. But the voice inside me was sounding the alarm. This happy Reina speaking of this charming dinner was dependent on one premise. And that premise was that tonight, dinner hadn't been made at my house. Meaning it was under the assumption that my mom, who should be making it, wasn't here. At any normal household, 7 o'clock would be around the middle of dinner time. If my mom were here, we'd be eating dinner around this time as well. The fact that she brought over all the makings of a meal at this time was inherently strange. Unless she knew. Reina, did she know that my parents weren't home? But there was also the chance that this was a bluff. I had turned on the lights and a bunch of other stuff to make it seem like my parents were here. There was a chance that Reina wasn't sure if my parents were home. But I had to wonder. The laundry, the garage, the evening paper. There were plenty of signs of them being hastily tidied up. It was hard to say that Reina didn't have a chance to determine if my parents were here or not. But there was no reason for me to confess that right now. I should try holding on to that fact as long as I could. First of all, the chain was still latched. As long as I didn't take it off, Reina wouldn't be able to do anything to me. I'm quite grateful, but dinner will be ready pretty soon.
Huh? Is that so?
I know you went through all the effort and everything, but, well, unable to think of a good way to refuse, my words trailed off weakly.
But some of this could work as side dishes, I think.
I'm sorry, we have more than enough already. My mom always makes quite a few sides, so...
Huh? You have side dishes?
With a smile that bordered on a cringe, I dodged her questions apologetically, but the feeling I tried to ignore began creeping up my back again. I spoke as if my mom was setting down dinner right now, but it didn't mesh well with what Reina was saying. Reina was talking as if she was aware of some obvious fact, and that I was aware of it as well.
So Keiji-kun can cook. What'd you make, I wonder?
No, well, it's not that Reina had assumed out of nowhere that I had made the dishes. No, not so much that I'd made them, but rather that my mom hadn't.
Did you really make them? The side dishes? Did you, Keiji-kun?
It wasn't me who made them. My mom did. No, she's making them. Right now. So you see, I'm sorry, but I can't eat what you brought. Reina fell silent at the moment. At that moment, I felt that the light had suddenly disappeared from her eyes.
How about I try guessing what Keiji-kun's dinner will be?
It doesn't matter what I'm going to eat.
Let's see.
The conversation might appear natural at first glance, but Reina was firmly in control. It felt like I was being interrogated.
Your dinner, I wonder. Is it something that can just be made with just hot water?
Hey now, stop with the insults. I can't believe you belittled my mom's extravagant dinner like that. Tickets sold out, full capacity already. It's that amazing. I tried my best to put on a strong front, but I couldn't grit my teeth quite right. So instead, I looked like someone who was borderline hysterical. But Reina showed no reaction whatsoever, even to that silliness.
Keiji-kun, did your mother really leave you dinner?
No, you see, she didn't leave me dinner. She's making it right now. It's almost time for dinner. Reina had taken that assertion of mine, that my mother was home and making dinner right now, and was completely ignoring it. I could tell that the more I panicked, the colder Reina became.
Hey, Keiji-kun.
At that moment, an uncomfortable chill crept up from the gap in the doorway.
Is your mom home? I wonder.
I couldn't keep up this charade anymore. Reina. She knew full well that my parents weren't home. But I'd come too far to admit that now. Anyway, my parents were here and we'd be having dinner soon. That was the situation I had concocted. So I answered. I told her she was here. She's here, of course. I could feel the humidity drying out from the surrounding air. Reina's eyes were becoming even more frigid, piercing me with their galled glare. Oh, God! God damn it!
Why?
Huh? What do you mean? I tried acting casual, but this facade was torn off of me the instant I looked into Reina's eyes. That look, it informed me of Reina's response faster than she could open her mouth.
Why have you been lying to me? I wonder.
I'm not lying.
That's a lie, isn't it?
It's not a lie.
Lies!
Reina's outburst sent a jolt surging through my body. There's that fucking face again. God damn it. Whew. Reina and I were still separated by what few inches that slightly ajar, but still a chained door couldn't afford. But despite that, I was still being cornered. My house, which I considered a safe haven until now, had become more like a dark alleyway where no one could save me.
Shall I guess your dinner, Keiji-kun? Let's see.
I knew now that Reina had already known that my parents would not be here tonight. But it was still so strange that it had come to this. Even if she somehow knew that my parents weren't home, there's no way she'd be able to guess what I'd be eating tonight. But Reina said she'd guess. How could she guess it? How could she know it was instant?
Cup noodles. That's right, isn't it?
That I was going to eat... Wait. The cooking repertoire of a man who can't do housework is probably nothing but cup noodles after all. Looking at this statistically, it was the most probable answer. That didn't mean she was guessing. I don't think you'll be fooled with just noodles. I think having rice and stuff will definitely hit the spot. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. This is just coincidence. Reina was just reading certain tales of mine. So the fact that she was inferring that I was thinking alarmed me. But it wasn't as if she was actually reading my mind. It was if it was being read, then she was a demon. No, not a demon. Things like that. They couldn't possibly exist.
Do you like them?
Do you mean noodles?
No.
Reina indicated that the point my answer was addressing was wrong. What was she... What's that censored word? Her rebuttal was so short that I momentarily didn't understand the words Reina had spoken. Oh, okay. Sorry, Reina. What did you say just now?
Huh? About what?
Just now, you asked me if there was something that I liked, didn't you? It wasn't long before I regretted how carelessly I'd pushed forward with that question. It was such a simple answer. That was why I wasn't able to comprehend it. Pork bone and ginger flavor. Oh, fuck. I wonder how I appeared in the moments my mind went completely blank until the moment I was able to recover. As my field of view began to distort, slowly swirling in a counterclockwise direction, I lost all sense of balance. Why do you know that? I didn't even deny it. That was the type of frenzied state I was in. How could Reina know even this? Not even caring as I mashed my head against the door, I fixated my gaze on Reina. But she didn't even flinch when she saw me do that.
I certainly did buy them.
Wait, I certainly did buy them. I bought a bunch at once. I bought a whole case. How could you know that?
Why, I wonder? Quite strange, isn't it? Isn't it?
How could you dodge a question at a time like this? The chain and the door suddenly were no longer protecting me. How do you know? Why do you know? Answer me!
You bought them at 7th Mart, didn't you?
A shiver ran up my spine. I tried covering it up with an angry facade. Like I said, why do you know that?
I was behind you, following you the whole time.
What are you saying? I couldn't understand why she was saying she'd been following me all this time.
That's because Reina was right behind Keiji-kun's back the whole time.
Like that night? That night I was absorbed in my phone conversation with Oishi-san? I didn't even sense her being there. Standing behind the door. Behind me. Standing there just like that.
When Keiji was picking out the noodles, I was watching the whole time. You picked out so many different flavors, didn't you? Then your mom got angry. If you were going to pick up the expensive ones, then you should just pick one type, she said. Then Keiji-kun picked out that big box of pork bone and ginger flavor that he loves so much, didn't he? I like it too. Pork bone noodles. But I can never eat a whole big bowl by myself.
My brain was paralyzed, dulling my senses. It might have been a defense mechanism to diminish the fear I was feeling to non-traumatizing levels. With the fear being diminished, the fog enveloping my mind was cleared away. Then, I could understand what Reina was saying, and started to put meaning behind her words. Even so, my fear hadn't subsided completely. It was like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, eyes closed so I didn't have to look down. It didn't actually solve any of the basic problems. I slowly took a step backwards, and as I withdrew, Reina advanced.
So, Keiji-kun, can you open this? We can eat dinner together. I'm sure it's going to be delicious, so, okay?
Reina's pale, slender fingers squirmed through the crack in the door one at a time, as if they had a mind of their own, rattling the chain. If she had unlatched the chain from the door, a feeling of terror would have just exploded within me. But Reina didn't do that. She was simply imploring me to remove the chain. She was doing her hardest to light the fuse to the powder keg in my heart. Trying again and again. Clatter, clatter. But it doesn't light. It doesn't light.
Open up, Keiji-kun.
Please go away. I beg you, please go away.
How can you say something so mean, I wonder?
Please go away. Go away. Go away! The powder keg inside me finally went off. No smoldering. It just exploded. I tackled the door. The force of the door had knocked Reina momentarily off balance. I couldn't hesitate here. I grabbed onto the doorknob with both hands, planted my feet firmly, and pulled with all my might. But that slamming sound I so desired didn't happen. I could feel a tiny disturbing bit of resistance keeping the door from closing. And the source of that was Reina's fingers. Each of those fingers wriggling, squirming around like the tendrils of a carnivorous plant at the crack in the doorway.
It hurts. It hurts, Keiji-kun. It hurts.
It wasn't a harsh shriek, but more of a yelp she was trying to keep back. Go away. Go away. Go away! I kept pulling on the door with all my might. I didn't even realize that if I didn't loosen my pull on the door at least momentarily, Reina wouldn't be able to pull her fingers out. And that was why the door wasn't closing.
It really hurts, Keiji-kun. I'm sorry if I was messing around too much.
I didn't care one bit for her apology. No matter how much she apologized, it didn't change any of what she had done up until now. It didn't change anything.
It hurts. It hurts. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Go away. Go away. Go away! Reina couldn't leave, even if she wanted to, because I'd trapped her fingers. Reina's white fingers had become deep red and were no longer even squirming.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Go away. Go away. Go away!
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Reina's apologies were occasionally twisted with pain, but like a broken record, she was intent on repeating it over and over. Go away. Go away. Go away. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it! I pulled on the door even harder. Finally, Reina's fingers were somehow able to slip out from their imprisonment in the doorway. The moment that happened, the door closed soundly, and I could hear the thud of Reina falling on her butt on the other side. I locked the door immediately, and made a loud clunk, voicing my rejection to Reina.
I'm sorry. Keiji-kun, I'm sorry. Open up, Keiji-kun.
Reina leaned against the door, apologizing profusely and nothing else. After confirming that I was sufficiently sealed off from her, I trudged away from the entryway. On the other side, I could still hear Reina echoing her apology. I'm sorry. Those pitiful words, they would be forever seeking my forgiveness. I didn't feel bad about this at all. But that wasn't out of any sort of malice. I felt a sort of hazy sense of relief that I was able to escape from Reina. Before, Mion had threatened me at this doorway, saying that there was nothing she didn't know. And just now, at the same place, Reina told me the same thing. My feeble attempts to disguise the fact my parents weren't home had served no purpose from the start. I should have just pretended to be out and not even opened the door. My meager plans hadn't helped at all. In Hinamizawa, it was impossible to outwit them. Even though I was on the other side of the door, I wanted to get away as far away from Reina as possible. One step, two steps. With each one, her sniveling apologies became more distant. I sprinted up the stairs and dove into my room. As you would expect, I was finally no longer able to hear Reina repeating her endless apology. Diving into my bed, I was startled by the hard lump I felt. There was something in my bed. It was the receiver. I finally remembered. I was in the middle of a call with Oishi-san. Looking at the clock, apparently not much time had passed since I went downstairs. It could be that my clock had run out of batteries. I had talked with Reina for so long. How did almost no time pass? But a hand on the clock was ticking forward, 1 second every second as usual. As I put the still warm receiver to my ear, time, which fell frozen, began moving once again. Hello? Oishi-san? Sorry to keep you waiting.
No, not at all. I didn't wait that long.
It became apparent that the amount of time that had passed between myself and Oishi-san was different. Over the phone, I could hear an energetic voice from a sports program or something. It drove home just how far away Oishi-san really was. Reina came just now.
Did she come to play?
I wasn't confident that I could coherently explain the situation to Oishi-san. But I didn't need to right now. Right now, I needed to know about Reina. That's right. I was planning to ask Oishi-san more about Reina, but Reina's little visit had interrupted the conversation. What was true and what was false, I couldn't tell. The one thing I knew was a single grim reality that Reina was suspicious. If I might be able to figure something out if I asked Oishi-san about her. Up until now, I had regretted I had regretted it whenever I forced myself to ask about things that I was better off not knowing. By looking at it that way, you could say I'd hit the rock bottom. There was no possible way I could feel any more regret than I did right now. No. Rather, I wanted to know if there was anything beyond this I would regret more. Forget about tomorrow. It wasn't out of the realm of possibility for something to happen tonight. I wanted to know everything I could. I was absolutely not going to die like this. Not without knowing anything. I definitely won't.
Regarding Reina Ryugo-san, I did a bit of digging. Yeah, well, it wasn't much.
I understood that Oishi-san was talking in circles. A bit meant I dug so deep it'd be hard to discuss with you since you're a friend. I want to know everything from your research.
I don't think you'll be very interested in what I have to say, though.
Oishi-san? I spoke as calmly as possible to Oishi-san, who was continuing to avoid the issue. And then, I said it. I think Reina Ryugu is suspicious. Even if the past incidents were from Oyashiro-sama's curse. Reina Ryugu is involved.
Do you have some sort of proof that makes you believe Reina-san is suspicious?
The manner in which Oishi-san spoke became very firm. Do you have some sort of proof? That was him talking as a detective. I only have circumstantial evidence. I see. I could tell even over the phone now how disappointed Oishi-san was. Pulling on the fishing line was when he felt the bite, only to reel in the bait. Disappointed, but ready to cast the line once more. That's how it seemed. Oishi-san, you can't do anything without physical proof, can you? What I meant was, you can't come and save me without proof. I stuck that barb in there. As Oishi-san loved roundabout ways of saying things, he understood me just fine. It's fine, Mayabara-san. I'll protect you. That was not the least bit reassuring. Oishi-san was just using me to continue his investigation. I was just going to get killed, and my corpse would be an important piece of evidence. That was all I was to him. Whether I'm alive or dead may be of no concern to your investigation, but it's all over for me when I die. He went silent on the other end of the line. That may have been too blunt, but I didn't care. All I needed to relay to Oishi-san was that I was currently in a very dangerous position. So please, tell me. Tell me about Reina. I probably need to get rid of that alarm clock. Satoshi transferred out. Not too far in the future. I'll probably also do a Reina called transferring out as well. But you won't be able to find my corpse. You haven't been able to find Satoshi's body yet. Alright, Mayabara-san, please calm down. I was already suppressing my agitation, even without Oishi-san having to tell me. It wouldn't solve anything if I continued to scream about my mistrust in the police. It would seem that I can only depend on myself and the bat Satoshi left behind to protect myself. Then I at least wanted to know about what happened before Reina transferred schools. You're aware that this won't be very interesting, right? Oishi-san, realizing my resolve couldn't be swayed, finally caved. Right now, to me, there is nothing that I'll find interesting. Please. There are a few things I need you to agree to. Okay. Please, keep this confidential. Also, part of this may be speculation. Not all of it may be true. Are you still interested? It might not be true. I don't understand what you mean. There isn't one main investigation for the mysterious chain of deaths in Hinamizawa. Each one is treated as its own individual case. Thus, Reina Ryugu has never been linked to any of the investigations. Basically, you see, this is an investigation Reina done by the police, and it's a personal inquiry, is what you're telling me? This will make things a lot quicker since you understand. All of it is from either phone calls or meetings and interviews. So the aunt corroborated. I'm asking you to take this all with a grain of salt, is what I mean. Do we have an agreement? All of it is just from what you just heard? Yes, my apologies. It's all my personal investigation, you see. That thing. Before, you said you saw Reina's chart, didn't you? I'm sure I heard you say that. Oishi-san paused for a moment on the other end of the line. I told you that too? Please pretend you didn't hear anything about that. I didn't care about Oishi-san having certain obligations and responsibilities. I also didn't care if there was no proof. Even if they were just rumors, there was no smoke without fire after all. Please tell me, Oishi-san. Understood. Oishi-san finally opened these light, tight lips of his. It seemed that Reina lived in Hinamizawa a long time ago. She had moved to Ibaraki Prefecture after she finished elementary school. Then, following that, right after transferring, the unfortunate incident with the breaking of the school windows happened. Then, Reina confided to the doctor. It was Oyashiro-sama. This was all that he knew. There isn't much difference between what I know and what you know, Mayabara-san. Then, what part did you investigate further? I didn't need to ask. It was the incident that happened just after she transferred. The incident Reina was responsible for, and what she divulged to the doctor afterwards, correct? Yes. After you learned about that, you started suspecting Reina and the others, didn't you? Yes, I did suspect them. So they're the ones after all. No, that's not what I meant by suspect them. Oishi-san was the type of person to say things with confidence, but these particular words were less than reassuring. Then, who did you suspect? That it was Oyashiro-sama. Huh? That Oyashiro-sama's curse really exists. Yeah, right. Well... Oh, that was him. Oishi-san's laugh was quite dry. Certainly not the kind that would make you want to join in. Oishi-san resumed the conversation about the dubious circumstances behind Satoshi's disappearance. The course of events up until the start of delving into Reina's past. Just then, there was thunder in the distance, and a heavy rain started pouring down. It came without warning. Rain so heavy it felt like it could beat you down. I had left the window in my room open a crack to let the heat out. The violent wind danced into my room, making the curtains flap wildly.
What is it?
Nothing. It suddenly started raining heavily. Sorry, please continue. I got up while still on the phone and closed the window.
I said at the beginning it was an accident, but because neither the school nor the victims filed charges, the police were never involved. So, you see, those involved were very reluctant to talk, regardless of there being a victim who had only one eye beaten so badly that it had permanent damage. It could have been the school or possibly some individual who made their arrangements to keep this from going public. Also, the psychologist was very strict about their professional ethics. Hello? Maibara-san, can you hear me?
There was a figure of a person standing by the light near the mailbox this whole time. Even in this torrential rain, they didn't have an umbrella. They were unquestionably drenched from head to toe. In this shower, which more resembled a waterfall, droplets of water dripped down from her hair. Just standing there, both arms dangling at her side. In one hand was the stack of boxes, wrapped in cloth. Her eyes focused on my room. Focused on me as I was about to close the window. Her mouth was methodically repeating a chewing motion, as if she had something hard to chew in her mouth, with her cheeks puffing out. What could she be eating over there? How could it be at this time? I was more enthralled by Reina, instead of the shocking developments being brought to light by Oishi-san. If it hadn't started raining, I wouldn't have gone to the window. Then I wouldn't have noticed Reina, nor would I have noticed that. Reina's mouth was moving in the same pattern. She wasn't eating something. She was repeating something. What was it? Was she repeating to me? What was she saying? And why was I right up against the window, fixated on her?
Hello? Maibara-san, can you hear me? Hello?
I'm sorry.
Huh? Maibara-san?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh. Is that what she's repeating?
Hello? Maibara-san, what's the matter?
Even in this torrential downpour, Reina was still apologizing. The other self inside me drew the curtain hastily with my right hand, blocking my view of the outside. But even doing that, Reina's relentless apology still reached my ears. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If I forgive you for this, will you forgive me for that? Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Please stop. I'm sorry. 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 Damn it! Why did I have to forgive her? I'm the one who wants to be forgiven. What part of me can't you forgive? I won't be killed. If you won't forgive me, then I won't forgive you either. I won't forgive. 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 Won't forgive.
Maibara-san, if you can hear me, then please respond. Hello?
Oh, don't tell me that's where it freaking ends. Holy shit, this was a long one. Oh my god. Split personality in the 7th Mart. Rain of apologies. I see it in movies quite often, but what is it exactly? Multiple personalities are thought to be escapism. Multiple personality disorder is a form of escape? Correct. The exact mechanism is not fully understood, but it's believed to be a type of defense for the brain to retain mental stability. Hypothetically, poor people imagining themselves as wealthy is a form of escapism, is it not? Is this also a form of multiple personality disorder? I wouldn't go that far, but broadly speaking, one could infer that. It's something that occurs in us all. Does a split personality occur when one cannot tell which is reality and which is escape? Well, that's difficult to say. There are some who agree with that, and some who disagree. There is no consensus. Then is the occurrence of multiple personalities still an unknown phenomenon, something not fully comprehended in the psychiatric field? Unfortunately, that is the current state of things. We can only put our hope in future research. But it's sort of cool having a split personality. What kind of people get split personalities? Recent studies find that those who develop it, or rather, those who are more susceptible to developing it, may be genetically predisposed or may have had abnormal mental development. Some say that childhood abuse increases the chances. Ugh. Speaking of which, Person A here experienced abuse as a child, didn't he? How sad. Person A has seven different personalities. Let's watch a video of him. Ew. Right after these commercials. Oh, that's bull. Okay. At the 7th Mart. Yeah, I don't like this. The 7th Mart was a bargain supermarket with food and alcohol. What's this, Keiji? So many. There's no reason to get all the different kinds, is there? I flopped all the different colored cup noodle bowls into the cart. Cup noodles have gotten so elaborate recently that there are a bunch of different types. I want to try each of them at least once. I knew it was pretty selfish of me, but I thought I could at least give it a try. Keiichi, buy them in the big case. It's cheaper. Dad faltered. Well, I had a feeling it'd end up like this. Dad knew there was no point in him butting in. Then I'd only get to eat one kind. I'd get bored with it. I was resisting as a formality. I'd already given up on inside and wasn't sure which case of noodles to get. If you can't pick, then Mommy will pick for you. You don't have to rush me. I quickly searched the cases of noodles for what I want. Pork bone and ginger, large cup? Hey Keiichi, can't you get a more normal one? If I let Mom pick, she'd err on the side of safety and get a soy sauce or salt flavored. Pork bone is good. I don't want a big bowl of tasteless stuff. I remembered insisting that the noodles I picked were the right kind. In this frozen memory in time, this encapsulated world, I didn't have the power to look around my surroundings. So I did what I could, and I reached out with my hearing and vision, sharpening my senses to find the presence I overlooked. No matter how much I searched through my field of vision, I couldn't see Reina. I rewound the situation, searching. But of course, I couldn't find her. Then, was she spying at me from my blind spot? I go through the sound and presences again, looking. I could sense the other customers. They were all mixed about, moving as they please. There was nobody looking over this way, no one trying to get behind me. Not here? Couldn't be here. Probably wasn't here. I would definitely notice someone was right behind me, even when I wasn't on my guard. I smiled wryly at the thought of using a vague word like probably right before contradicting it with definitely. That sent chills down my spine, good lord. Whew. Then I paused my mental replay as a chill ran down my spine. There was definitely a presence like a shadow behind me. That was a terror unlike any other. If a presence really had manifested behind me, I would definitely have turned around to check for it. But the world had moved on, and there was no way for me to turn around. While carrying that frightening shadow on my back, I was gleefully running around the store searching for a case of noodles. Running through the instant noodle section, bad-mouthing my mom. But there was that presence, constantly at my back, sticking to me like a shadow. No way to see what it was. Realizing it now after the fact was horrifying and repulsive. In that moment, I was running around gleefully, carrying that cardboard box. Tip-tap, But listening to that moment again, I could hear footsteps other than mine going pit-pat with every step. Tip-tap, 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 pit-pat, pit-pat, pit-pat. Tip-tap, tip-tap, pit-pat, pit-pat, tip-tap, tip-tap, pit-pat, pit-pat. While I was running, the sound of those barefoot steps going pit-pat were right behind me. Me running around gleefully in that closed-off moment in time. But I didn't hear it. No, I heard it. That's why I remembered it. I didn't think I had heard anything. That's why I didn't turn around. That is why I didn't turn around. In that moment, the pit-pat of those footsteps were following me the entire time. I couldn't run faster and escape. I couldn't run any faster than I had ran at that time. I couldn't turn around. I hadn't turned around before, not once. Then I returned to my parents and started talking. The shadow-like presence was right at my back. Since I didn't move, the shadow didn't move. That is why it made no sound. That was all. At that time, I hadn't taken a single step while talking with my parents. I was just standing there. This was undeniable. And yet, I heard it. A pit-pat. This shouldn't be. If I took 3 steps, it followed 3 steps. Wasn't that the rule? There was no sound other than that. At that time, the entire world had gone dark. A sudden darkness. It was the end of my reflective journey. I was tired. I wanted to end it. Someone turn on the light. Except my body couldn't move, as if I was sewn into that moment in time. Pit-pat. My past self's hair stood on end. That's impossible. Now that's just breaking the rules. I haven't moved. So you shouldn't be moving either. I couldn't move. So you shouldn't be able to move either. Follow the rules. Pit-pat. Yet that sound echoed in the darkness once again. The hair on the back of my neck prickled up on end. It was so close that it was hard to tell whether it was touching the hair or not. Why couldn't I move, like how the presence was moving behind me? I quickly realized. I could move. It's just that I was scared and didn't want to. But now was the only time I could turn around. It was something unforgivable in this moment in time. But I needed to turn around immediately. As if my entire being was trying to force me to stop, it began to administer a pain like a needle being stuck into my every pore. I'll turn around. I'll turn around. I'm not scared at all. I'll turn around. I'll turn around. I'm not scared at all. A scream I was unable to vocalize. I turned around. At first, I couldn't understand the meaning of it. What? What is this? The situation in front of my eyes. It was like a mouth biting an apple and slurping the juice, the way you would do with an apple. My mind was being eaten. It began to munch down, slurping the juices, because it was like an apple. Meaning, what was in front of me was... Are you fucking serious? God damn it. Oh my god, this is literally shit. Okay, save. Okay, I have to go to this now. Save. Oh my god, this is... Oh, this is an extra long one, and I'm glad I went through the whole thing, and I'm scared that I went through the whole thing, and oh my god. Oh, this is really, really good storytelling. Damn. I'm just literally just imagining that door scene with her just kind of like peering through the door, trying to like get in. I can just imagine that, and I'm just... God, that's... Oh my god. Oh. Okay, fuck it, it's my channel. I'm doing another episode of this. Screw this. This is getting so freaking good. I feel like I'm getting to the end. I don't know. And I just... I really want to go further. I want to go further. Like, I can't stop. I just... I really hope you guys don't mind. I swear I'll pick up Cthulhu again, but goddamn, I really, really want to continue this. Oh... Damn, this is good. And apparently I looked on Steam, there's actually a chapter 2, so I'm just like, oh my god, there's more. I gotta do that one. Oh, no. But, this is getting good. This is like, I find myself addicted to it. I'm like, I'm addicted to this, kind of like I was addicted to Disgaea 5 when I was doing all those episodes. It's bringing me in, and it's similar to I can't bring up Undertale again. It's bringing me in, and I want to find myself playing even more of this. Like, it's getting me to the point where I just want to continue this solely, and then do, like, the other stuff later. I really hope you guys don't mind. I just, damn. Regardless, this is getting really good. This is legitimately giving me, like, the jitters and the... My hand is literally shaking. You can't see, but my hand is, like, freaking shaking right now. So, I'm liking this. So, hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video, and I hope you guys are enjoying this too. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Damn, this is so good. And I will see you guys in the next video.